Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining me again on our discussion of politics in our nation, a beautiful Guyana. It's exciting to always be part of your living rooms or on the radio, wherever you're listening to, on Facebook. It's always exciting to even get your phone calls and your discussions and hear your views of where we're at as a nation and how are we developing our country, especially this week as we celebrate our 53rd independence from Great Britain. Tonight, it's a range of issues that I like to bring to the table. But you know, as we start and we think of politics in our country and you look across what the government of the day is doing, when a government intentionally or unintentionally sets up failure, the citizens all suffer. Simple things such as the government-owned agency of GPL, the last couple months, couple of years, have really been giving us what we know in Guyana as a product called blackout, power outage. And you know, for 8 hours, 10 hours a day, that is setting each and one of us up for failure, from our businesses that can't function if you are not able to own a generator, for households that meat spoil every day. You know, nothing could stay frozen in your refrigerator. Children cannot do their homeworks. Housewives cannot iron their clothes. That is a government setting the citizenry up for failure. And as I take your phone calls tonight, I'd like to discuss, how do we go forward? When you have a government that, when they were in opposition, campaigned so aggressively that, you know what, they will fix everything. They will promise you everything. They will come and no more blackouts, no more corruption, no more, I name 100 of them that they came up with. And 4 years later, we're in the same boat. And now that we are starting to feel the excessive pain, over the 4 years we have felt the pain, but the excessive pain that we're feeling right now as we get close to election, a government that is on the loose all over the board, no decision making on economic development, continues to fail the citizens. And let me take early phone calls as I get into our discussion tonight. Yes, can I help you?
Hi, Mr. Ramsaroop. I have a question for you.
Yes.
I want to know why so many government ministers are caught up in so many scandals in all of those ministries when the ACNU continues to campaign that we're fighting against corruption and all of that propaganda.
Thank you. Well, the caller hit home a point that I really wanted to talk about tonight also. The numerous scandals in every ministry almost. You know, we know about the housing minister that was relieved of her duty for her husband getting a contract. You have another minister who gave her own company or allowed her own company to get a contract. You have a minister that taking money into his personal bank accounts. And these are just some of the known ones that you hear about, that people expose. But the scandals, when ACNU was campaigning prior to 2015, many of us knew, anytime, and all of us grew up, running the streets in Guyana, when you start bad talking somebody else about what they are doing and what they have done, the chances that you will do worse or you have done those same things, that's why you know what to expect. And they campaign against this corruption and this clean slate and this no blackout, and they will do all these good things for Guyana. We will all have a good life. At the end of the day, they have turned out worse than we have ever had in our nation. We've got a stagnant economy. We've got power outages every day. We've got a government that is out of control. We have ministers that are caught in corruption, that are caught in scandalous activities, in giving their own friends work their own party supporters work. We've had scandals since the start, from the drug bond to the Healthcare Procurement Act, and the Auditor General have found so many inconsistencies and activities, criminal activities over the last 4 years, yet this president has failed to fire anyone, has failed to call in the investigators on any single minister that have been corrupt. Yet they will do COIs, inquiries on so many different topics, and yet to give their own decisions on their own corruption. And that's where government has failed us. Yes, good evening. Can I help you?
Why it is that I lost fighting on the stories? This man only there for 3 years. Why it is that it's so much a time? Why you don't leave the government alone to do what he has to do and shut up?
Thank you very much. Good point. Not 3 years, sorry callers, 4 years. And if in 4 years, after waiting 23 years to get into power, and you have not delivered a single new foreign investment, new investment in our country, you have stagnated our economy, you have brought a country that was progressing at a very, very strong rate in our GDP growth. Unemployment was at its lowest in 2015. 4 years later, you've got 30,000 people out of jobs. You've got factories that have closed. You have our foreign income that has been decimated, decreased. And the caller wants us to stop talking and allow our country to go back to the 1980s, where the debt was so great it took almost 15 years to pay off. Right now our debt is at one of the highest level, $1.3 billion. The caller likes maybe the taxes that the government has increased on them, $88 billion more in taxes. But yet to give them more time so that we will be is a poor state. It's, as I mentioned in the start of the program, when a government fails their citizenry, that's when they have no valid reason, or we have no valid reason to make sure that they ever get a chance ever again. So sorry caller, I don't believe you had any data facts to say why we should leave them alone. They need to go. They're incompetent. The president shows very weak leadership. He has not been able to make a single decision that makes the country better. And the policies, especially the economic and social policies of our nation, has stagnated our economy, and we cannot give this government a single more day than they have in office to continue to take our country to a level that we may not recover. Yes, caller, can I take your comments or question?
The government need to put y'all in jail. The whole party need to go to jail. Just to worry y'all. This government is doing the right thing. Designation concerns, putting y'all in jail. Y'all are the cookie dealers.
Thank you. Put us in jail. You know, when you're speaking the truth, when you show the fact that the economy is stagnated, when you can prove over the last decade that the economy has grown significantly, you can look at the last 4 years and see the decline, the loyalty of some of the individuals. And I'm sure that caller, if I was to be able to meet that caller in person and ask them that question, have you got a better life since 2015 to 2019? I bet any day they cannot say yes, because they have not. They're paying more taxes, $88 billion worth of more, 200 more taxes. And you're going to say put the previous administration in jail when the economy was going? You know, one of the commitments that this party has said they will do day one on a new government is to remove the 200 taxes that has been put since this government took over. They will ensure that the job market is being recreated by making our regulation, our investment climate more friendly. looking at opening up the factories that have been decimated, that have been, people have lost their jobs. You know, they're going around telling young people, look for work, promises across, 3 youth ministers, promises across our country, yet not a single job has come to our shores over the last 4 years. Not a single new job. You know, none of the new markets have opened up. You know, Exxon have hired maybe 200 people. They're betting on oil post 2020. The economy doesn't grow with one sector. The economy grows with multiple sectors. You have to have an integrated economic plan to be able to grow the economy. Yes, can I help you?
Hi Peter, good evening, how are you?
Good evening.
Alright, I want to make 2 points. The first being, the last caller indicated that you should be put in jail, right? So where do we put Malik Patterson, who got $9 million US from the Chinese into his account? Where do we put Patterson, who messed up the entire, not messed up, but sole source that bridge in terms of its you know, to make a bridge. Then the other thing too is that we should also put all the Lawrence in jail for the fiasco with the sourcing of
Answer the call. Yeah.
Right. And I can go on and on.
Yes.
You know what I cannot understand is this: is that we've got a president who is, according to Mr. Jagdio, is MIA, he's missing in action. So what do we do? Do we put him in jail also for not functioning? Or my second point is this: now I was listening to I was flipping through the television. I was listening to the Minister of Finance, who was saying that everything is honky dory with our finance. When our macroeconomic position is terrible, the treasury is worth half of what it was when Mr. Jagdio left, right? When the PP left, and you've got serious problem in terms of capital flight from this country right now. Every day you call the Camille, right? The US dollar is rising. I mean, you aware that, you know, you're also a businessman, right? And this, you can't plan your business now because you can't plan long term, all right? You understand?
Yes.
When people talk about putting people in jail, they should be jailed for totally wrecking this country.
Thank you. Appreciate it, caller. I mean, these are, I mean, if you look, I mean, if we want to just look at some of the charges that this government has brought against the former PPP officials, they're all political. They're all cabinet level decisions that were made in terms of policies and processes that the government made. They want to take charges against ministers for activities that is government run. But as a caller outlined, these are individual discrepancies, individual acts of illegal activities that each of these ministers have made. This is not cabinet decision. These are taking personal money of your bank account. In any other part in the world, you not only be fired, you be investigated and potentially put in jail. The president is MIA, as the caller said, that the former president and the opposition leader said. He doesn't exist. He is afraid. He's the weakest leader this country has ever seen. President Arthur Granger is one of the weakest leaders we have ever had in our nation. I wouldn't even call him a leader. He can't manage his cabinet. He is that incompetence across the board. He has not been able to deliver a single promise in his campaign. Yet people want to put them back. This is real life, everyone. We've got to make that decision. We have to have the courage, and the choice is ours, to ensure that our nation do not fall back into that devastating effects of the 80s. The capital flight, as the caller mentioned. We've got a shrinking economy. You know, when you have exports down in sugar, in rice, in forestry, that is foreign income less in our nation. That's why the US dollar is on the rise. You know, we left the reserve at $665 million. Today, the foreign reserves are almost gone. We've got to be cognizant of the fact that it is not about the politics alone. This is reality as people. And it's not just even about the political parties, it's about the incompetence of individual and a team that President Granger has put around him that shows the incompetence. They cannot deliver. The end of the day, they cannot deliver. Yes, caller, can I help you?
Hi, good night.
Good night.
I just called to find out if there's to come to a decision at the CCJ about it, no confidence.
Okay, thank you. No, the CCJ has not made a decision. Hopefully this week that will happen. Regardless of that decision, the question that we all need to be considering over the next few months as we move into the election cycle. Are you better off than you were in 2015? Did you get a better life? Do you have disposable money in your pockets? Are you paying more taxes on electricity and water and data and on goods and services, raw materials? Is the government charging you more when you go for your license? Are you a farmer? Are you being charged more for your acreage, your mining fees? Did you have a better life since 2015? That is the question of the day. So the CCJ ruling will happen. Regardless of that decision, we are in election cycle. We've got to pay attention and make that decision. You may not like all the political parties. You may not like the PPP administration in the past. But I can tell you, when you compare the two, it's like night and day. The fact is the economy will do better, jobs will be created. The promise of jobs are real. When you look over the last 5 years prior to 2015, when you look at the thousands of jobs that came in with the call centers and the telecommunication industry, you look at the thousands of jobs that came in with the mining community, the gold industry that actually held our economy together. When you look at what was happening across the board in our other sectors, that is what real economic growth looks like. And as we look at the oil and gas of the future, and you take that as an enabling factor and you strengthen this other 6 or 7 sectors that we must develop even further to create those new opportunities, real jobs, not the promise of jobs. Yes, can I help you?
Good night.
Good night.
Two people once leave them alone, the other from jail, the former couple. If you look back from 1964, for the first 28 years, we are going to Granger just now. Bonham rule, things like feed the house and clothe the nation, small man is a real man, who's up perish, and all these silly things. They wasted billions of dollars. Let me name some of the projects. Then we are going to come to this Granger, the Upper Mazaruni project. Billions of dollars are wasted. If you go to Paco, you're going to see booms of machinery up there in Green Heart today. That's one. Glass factory up at Woodline. Next, look at the bicycle factory, the leather factory, the cassava mill factory, the Sanat mill, the beechcraft at Bonham Bike, himself. That's Mr. Hyde. The Linden factory, he gave $25,000 most TNC people, they came back.
Yeah, so your point, I mean, as we, for a matter of time, I think your point is well taken.
No, let's go now to some of the project, using a computer, so you got to give me a little thing to get these.
Yes, but just in the essence of time, when you compare, and that's what the point that I was trying to make, when you compare the PNC administration of the past compared to the current PNC administration of today, there's no difference. They have done failed policies. And I think you're trying to correlate the two, and I believe so that the current government and the wasted projects that they're doing are not being able to deliver on anything.
Yeah, they're wasting a lot. This guy is a waste of a time as a president. He just don't enjoy life. I remember hearing some of his supporters when he got, a man is a sick man, you got sympathy. Who is going to support him if they no confidence from when he gets out? It could show people how they're met.
Yes. Thank you, caller. Let me take some more calls, but yeah, thanks so much for your discussion. But the essence, and I said it many times in this program, President Granger is a good man. A good man, but the weakest leader we've had in our nation, most incompetent, doesn't understand. I've never even ever heard a speech where he talks about the vision of our country and what our nation today should look like. How do we develop every sector? How do we develop the economic planks? How do we build the industries that are truly will be creating jobs? I've never heard a speech such as that coming from the president. It shows a lack of understanding what it takes to run a nation. It is not about being a single historian. He was probably a great army officer. I respect every military person. I'm a ex-military myself. But you have to have, if you didn't have the experience, at least have the leadership skill. If you don't have the leadership skill, put good people around you. But the bunch of crooks that he put around him cannot deliver any of the promises that he even said. And that's why we are stagnated right now. Why our country is stagnated. And as a caller tried to bring out, many of the projects that they're doing today are a failure. The airport implementation, $150, $180 million, gone.
Hi there, good evening.
Good evening.
I do agree with you. President Granger does seem to be a good man, and I want to wish him a full and speedy recovery.
Thank you.
I think because of lack of management, proper management, he grounded this country to a halt. I wasn't here when the PPP rule. I have no idea what they did, but I know what happened. I've been back here since 2011, late 20. And as I said, everything just stopped in its tracks. They only realized on December 21st why they were there. The people put them there to serve them. Instead, they were serving themselves and their own people. As I said, I do want to wish him a speedy recovery, and I hope moving forward, everybody, all the other politicians learn a good lesson from this period we're experiencing.
Thank you very much. And, there was a forum, I think, today talking about youth jobs, and there were many of the panelists that mentioned that, we should not be just saying creation of jobs just for the sake of political football or young people. But young people prior to 2015 knew they had the opportunity for jobs. There were many entry-level jobs with the call centers in our country that created 5,000, 10,000 new jobs in very short period of time, and that industry was about to boom. Those were real opportunities. When you look at our presidential candidate there, Finale, talking about 50,000 new jobs, and you look at the reality of how the PPP administration under his management planned to ensure those jobs are created. It is concrete plans that shows if you develop sectors, if you look at the agriculture sector and you expand that service or that product development, you expand it into Deepwater Harbor where the large ships can come in, and you build a road to Brazil where that export goods coming out of Brazil can come through our Deepwater Harbor. Our farmers then will continue to develop because the shipping and the transportation method will be extensive, so we can produce more. That sector alone will create new opportunities. If you go into cattle farming, those same trucks bringing the goods from Brazil can take back our cattle meat into Brazil. Brazil is one of the largest consumers of meat. If you go to restaurants around the world and a Brazilian restaurant, meat is one of their key food items. So again, that's just one industry that is reality and how jobs and new markets and new products are created. When you're able then to produce cheaper energy like we were about to do in Amalia Falls, then you could have gone into manufacturing. Manufacturing then will take those goods and raw materials and turn them into finished products. Now, if you have the transport economics, such as the road to Brazil, the Deepwater Harbor, or other ports, then that goods get out faster, quicker to outdoor markets. And as you improve our local products, that's foreign income coming into our country. And that foreign income then increase our wealth. And that money turns over, government then have more money to spend. You cannot tax us to prosperity. There's no way. This government believes if they tax us more, suddenly we're going to have a good life. We can't have a good life with taxation. Yes, you're calling on a private number. Can I help you?
Good night, sir.
Good night.
I'm a concerned citizen of Guyana. And something is bothering me. Cost of living is on the increase. We have to pay VAT for every item in the shop. Including the tax killing us. We can hardly afford 3 meals a day. We can hardly afford even to 2 meals for a day. We eating actually next to nothing right now in Region 3 I'm calling from, okay?
Okay.
And something started happening recently. And I'm calling out on the opposition and the present government to look into this matter and stop this nonsense that's going on right now in this country. We at Region 3, we are, the whole country suffering, but I'm talking about Region 3 because I'm living at Region 3. In the street where I'm living, a lot of the people are living in the houses they're renting it. You have to find money to pay rent. You have to pay money to pay the heavy light bill, which has VAT and tax on it. Also the water. All right?
Yes. Yes.
And sir, let me tell you something. These people is so cruel that they put on meter on our water main. Where are we gonna find the excess money to pay for the water that's coming through the main?
Yes.
And the water is not treated water. What are we paying for? The water is so oily that when it falls on your skin, the sediments stay on your skin and get it brown. Is it here?
Yes.
Skin is showing.
Thank you. Let me answer your questions and your comments. And I feel sorry for the caller because you can tell the passion and the pain that they're feeling in terms of the stagnation and taxation that this government has put on our people. Taxing our nation, thinking that would create prosperity is the worst policy. I've mentioned this quote from Winston Churchill many times. Taxing a nation to prosperity is like us standing in a bucket and trying to lift yourself up. Impossible. The way a country grows in terms of national wealth, the way a country grows in economic future and economic plans is by putting the right regulations, the right policies, the right investment code, the right taxation, integrating that with real vision and plan, by making what government is supposed to do: build roads, build infrastructure, ensure cheaper energy, maybe privatize a few things that needs to be privatized, but at least give leadership and direction and policy necessary to improve the citizens' life of our country. And that is what I started the program with. Yes, can I help you?
Good night, sir.
Good night.
I want to tell you something. The previous government right now create jobs. The jobs they create for themselves, they use them money in parliament, sir. Right? I can't believe that there's a job they create for the youth them among the cabinet. All the big ones, that the job they create. Them is the youth right now.
Okay, I think the caller is saying, if you look across the government, most people are retired, taking the jobs of the young people. Yet they're going out campaigning, give young people work, give young people work. At least the PP administration, if you look across the future of what they will present when you pick a candidate as young as your finale, 38 years old, with a good economic background, good past performance, show that he can deliver. That's the type of new leadership Guyana needs. And putting the right team, it's not about one individual. What President Granger failed to understand, he didn't have the vision, he doesn't have the plan, he didn't put a good team around him. They have had some bad policies, they've been caught in more scandals than anything else, and they're stagnating our economy. Yes, can I help you? Good night. I'm having a hard time understanding. Slow? I'm so sorry. I think you were so blurry I could not understand what you're saying. But as I get to the close of the program, I started off the conversation when a government fails to protect their citizenry, numerous after effects happen. It's almost like tectonic forces. When tectonic forces start shifting, the gaps the earth starts to come across. And these tectonic forces that the government has put on us, from taxation, economic bad policies, closing down factories, no cheaper energy, that's the tectonic forces that is causing that rift in our country. And for us to move forward, we have to have that hope and vision, the new ideas, new strategies, new plans. Go back and continue what has been proven to work. But the end of it all is the vision of the future. Building the arrival of the future is what we do today. What we do today is to create a plan that talks about cheaper energy, create a plan that includes transport economics, create a plan that reduces the taxes, create a plan that brings social components to our people. We have to still help. We're still a developing country. We have to look at the future of oil and gas. We have to see where it fits. How do we negotiate better? How do we make our country a place where we all feel satisfied? And that is what all of us going forward wants. I'll leave you with a question. Have you had a better life since 2015 than you had before? Are you ready to put this current government back in government, knowing that our country is going down in a very quick decline? Do you see any future with this government? I can say no. We need to have the courage. We need to have our own vision. We need to have our own participation. And when we put that X against the PPP, we are trusting that they will bring to us, and the plans that will be presented will be so powerful, will be so real, you would see measurement. You cannot manage what you can't measure. And when you can measure the delivery of something, whether it's a product, whether it's a service, that tells you it's going to happen. And it's going to show you a timeline how it's going to happen. Thank you for joining me. God bless you.